We'll start with a summary of the Cask of Amontillado. Montresor vows revenge against Fortunato over an insult, a revenge that he will take at the right time. During a carnival, they encounter each other. Fortunato has been drinking. Montresor says he has purchased a cask of Amontillado, but is uncertain of its quality. He's going to get Lucchese to taste it. Fortunato won't hear of a rival wine connoisseur lending his expertise. He insists on tasting it himself. They walk to Montresor's palace, which is empty of servants. They take torches and start down the long staircase leading to the vaults. They go slowly due to Fortunato's intoxication and persistent cough. At the bottom is a deep crypt, its walls lined with human remains. Fortunato steps into a recess to find the Amontillado. Montresor quickly chains him to the wall. Moving aside the pile of bones, Montresor reveals stones and mortar. He starts to wall up the entrance of the recess. Fortunato screams and then implores Montresor to stop. He puts the last stone in place and piles the bones up against the wall. He reveals that he exacted this revenge 50 years ago. That concludes the summary. Now we'll look at a few themes, starting with the most obvious one, revenge. Montresor makes his motivation plain from the start. When he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. The narrator tells us what the story he's about to recount is all about. He goes on to outline his personal standard for revenge. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. To Montresor, true revenge must be free of consequences. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. So a secret, convoluted plot to destroy Fortunato's life won't satisfy Montresor. Even killing him with subterfuge isn't enough. The man must know who has come for him. A complete revenge must be calculated, so the redresser exacts his vengeance conspicuously and without repercussions. Montresor hasn't given Fortunato any cause to raise his defenses. Neither by word nor deed did he indicate he held a grudge. He continued to smile in his face. This theme is reinforced as they descend into the vaults and catacombs. Fortunato asks about the Montresor family coat of arms, which translates to, "No one wounds or attacks me with impunity." There's little doubt that Montresor intends to see his plan through. The next theme we'll consider is remorse. Readers and critics have focused on the theme of remorse, despite the dearth of supporting details. Some readers are uncomfortable with the story if Montresor doesn't regret the murder and feel guilt. This has given rise to interpretations that claim he's sorry for what he did. Some things used to support this include the belief that he's telling the story as a confession to a priest, reading a Christian interpretation into some of the story's details, and his admission that his heart grew sick just before finishing the job, which he attributes to the dampness of the catacombs. We'll get to who Montresor might be relating the story to a bit later. Reading a Christian interpretation into various details seems perfectly reasonable. However, seeing these possible parallels as proof of a guilty conscience seems like an unreasonable leap to me. Likewise, the mention of a vague symptom, like a sick heart just before finishing, doesn't express remorse in the present, merely a brief qualm at committing such an extreme act. This also assumes his sick heart was related to his mental state. It could have simply been physical, from the time spent working in the damp catacombs willing in his victim. Some things that suggest Montresor isn't repenting over a wrong include the lack of a direct acknowledgement of any wrongdoing and the lack of an apologetic tone or any asides that justify his actions. Of course, the omission of something by a narrator doesn't mean a particular idea isn't in a story. Still, if Montresor is recounting this episode to unburden his conscience, he doesn't seem to make an effort to show any contrition. I would expect a remorseful narrator to express this unambiguously. And another possibility is that this point is unsettled, so readers will discover their own view on the subject. Conversely, others can appreciate the story and not really care if he's sorry or not. The next theme we'll look at is the dangers of alcohol. Poe was familiar with the dangers of alcohol, as his older brother Henry died from causes related to alcoholism, and Poe struggled with alcohol himself. Some think it caused his death, but this is uncertain. In any case, it was a long-standing problem for him. This danger is evident in the story. Montresor's revenge plot is carefully planned, part of it is choosing to strike at Fortunato when his senses are diminished. He picks a day when his target had been drinking much. Throughout their interaction, incidents accumulate that might have become suspicious to a sober man, such as the chance meeting, the threat of using a rival's expertise, the deserted grounds and house, the piles of bones on the descent, and the trowel. Even sober, it's possible all these things wouldn't have alarmed Fortunato. But when they reach the bottom, the cask is nowhere to be seen. A man in full possession of his faculties might have realized he could be in danger, while Fortunato can only stand stupidly bewildered. A sober Fortunato could certainly have reacted faster when encircled with the chain and offered some physical resistance. Ultimately, Fortunato's intoxication significantly shifts the balance of power. It all but guarantees Montresor's success. Now we'll consider some questions, starting with something we've touched on already. To whom is Montresor telling his story? Montresor's listener is described only as you who so well know the nature of my soul. The listener is someone close to him. They probably have a long-standing relationship. Some possible identities for this person include a priest, a wife or mistress, or a trusted friend. My guess is that he's talking to his wife, mistress, or friend. I don't see enough support for repentance to think he's telling a priest. Question number 2. What are some examples of irony? Among the ironic moments in the Cask of Amontillado are when Fortunato, a man to be respected and even feared, looks silly as he wears motley and striped clothing and a jester's cap with bells due to the carnival. Montresor smiles at Fortunato, not out of goodwill, but at the thought of his doom. Montresor refers to Fortunato as my friend. Montresor says your health is precious and that he cannot be responsible for risking it. Montresor agrees that Fortunato won't die of a cough. Montresor drinks to your long life. And the jingling of the bells as Fortunato is walled in and dies. Question number 3. Does Montresor have a valid reason for holding his grudge? We don't know for sure. He claims to have suffered 1,000 injuries and an insult from Fortunato. It's noteworthy that Fortunato doesn't ask Montresor why he's killing him. I would guess that would be the first question that would come to someone's mind. It's what I would ask. The fact that he doesn't ask implies he knows why, suggesting Fortunato has done things to injure and insult Montresor. Fortunato begs for mercy. He says they could call it a practical joke and laugh about it later. This suggests he's thinking clearly enough to try to save himself. Again, this makes it seem like he knows what he's done to Montresor. It could be something so serious that he knows there's nothing to gain by bringing it up. I hope this look at the Cask of Amontillado has been helpful. Please subscribe for more literary commentary.
Hey, while you're here, there's a really cool video I have to show you. In the basement. Watch your step. There's a bunch of chains and bricks on the floor.